be a fair amount of time for one game. So I thought we had to get together here and discuss our general expectations, hopes, and even predictions for what we could be seeing in this upcoming Direct. So first off, how nice is it, guys, that we finally have something to look forward to? Some kind of Direct of some form that we know is coming.
It feels like a blessing.
Right?
It's been so long. I know we had a Pokemon Direct very recently, but it didn't feel like much. And it's been even longer since the last general one. That was back in September.
Right.
So just to have something for an upcoming game that's coming soon is quite devoid of information. It just feels like something's lifted off our shoulders, like just something to grasp.
That really is a point, because we have not seen much of this game at all since E3. We've had little tidbits come out from like marketing and ads and other things that weren't meant to be released yet, but we've had zero solid information on this game officially. I think since basically E3, which is absurd. And now we're only we're just over a month away from release, and we're finally getting some more concrete details, presumably, in this Direct. So
it is kind of weird. We're so close to release, and we haven't played previews for this yet.
Right, no one has.
There's been no hands-on with this game, and that's okay in a sense. Animal Crossing, I don't think previews well. It's one of those games that's really hard to like give someone a feel for in 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been learning everything we know about this game. We've learned from like accessories and just random advertisements. So this is, like you said, Andre, the very first time we're getting actual info about the actual game direct from Nintendo since the Treehouse stuff.
Yeah, exactly 1 month before release. Yep.
Because the September stuff, we should probably mention that the September stuff was basically a rehash of all the Treehouse stuff.
Right. Yeah, pretty much.
And since that point, and I counted, there has been less than a minute of new footage.
God,
Jesus, really?
That is something. Wow. Yeah, I mean, Nintendo's done a good job of keeping it, extremely secretive for what it is. At least that's the hope. Like my concern has been, what if we basically know everything, right? I mean, it's Animal Crossing. How much more is there really to know? But then I'm like, come on, it's Nintendo. They always blow it out on the second showing, right? This is essentially I feel like it's its second main showing. So there's obviously stuff we don't know about here. But the question is, how much left is there? There's some key points that we don't know anything about, like the museum, which we actually just found out today will in fact be back, but we know nothing else beyond that. We know things like Joan will be back, or at least the turn-ups, but how do those work? It's things there's a lot of like tiny details here that we don't know for sure. But my interest lies really in the bigger details. Like, what are the big things that we don't know about yet, or don't fully know about yet? So I guess let's just go and dive in here. What's your first like big hope or expectation that you want to be cleared up or announced in this Direct?
I want to know how the development of the town works. So, you start basically with nothing in this game, which is very different from any other Animal Crossing game.
Yeah, it's a barren island.
Yeah, you only start with two other villagers who come with you from the airport, and you basically arrive at the same time in a tent. From there, you build up the island, and from there, we basically don't know anything that will happen. We don't know how the main store will develop with Tammy and Tommy, because they are the only ones who will be selling you items right from the get-go. We don't know where a museum will be placed. We don't know how any services will be handled, because that will be all built up from scratch.
Speaking about like the beginning of the game, that's kind of how I picture the structure of this Direct is going to be. I kind of think they might do some sort of like vlog where they go over like their experience with the game from the beginning into a certain point of time, just showing you all these different elements. Because how do you just continuously announce Animal Crossing details and keep it interesting? So I think that might be the sort of vibe they go for with this.
Isn't that kind of like, I feel like there's almost spoilers though for Animal Crossing game. They show you like say the first full month. That's like major spoilers for Animal Crossing, isn't it?
I mean, how many spoilers can
we
you
don't
get for
know.
this?
That's the thing. That's the problem. We don't know if that will take a full month. Yeah. We don't know.
Yeah, and if you look at the trailer for the initial trailer for New Horizons, they kind of already did that, like albeit in a much truncated fashion. Like you realize that as you go through that trailer, they're progressing forward through a year. Same area of the island, and like seasons are changing. So
True.
I could definitely see them going forward through a certain period. And Animal Crossing is kind of so open ended that nobody's playthrough is going to be the same. No one's going to be like, oh crap, Starwolf showed up. Like, it's going to be
maybe not the way you play.
Starwolf better show up.
I think you're.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm predicting now that Star Wolf will not be an Animal Crossing.
Our first official prediction from Steve.
I do actually have a prediction about the villagers themselves, though.
Yeah,
I reckon they might pull a Smash Ultimate because we've seen so many renders. I think there's like 250 renders or something like that.
They were just randomly dropped on a press server. Yeah.
Yes, on Germany.
Exactly. And with so many characters, like, where do you cut it off? And I kind of think, like, what if they bring back every villager that's ever been in an Animal Crossing game and just celebrate the entire legacy
The
of
ultimate
this?
crossover.
Yeah, the sort of the problem is we haven't seen a single render of anything that's before or that has been in New Leaf. I would
They're
hope
keeping
so.
it
I would love that.
surprised.
But there are also characters who will also have the same name as characters that came in the GameCube version. They're no longer there, so it might bring up some questionable.
Give them last names, like Isabel the Bell. I don't know. So just elaborate more on it.
It's always been Isabel the dog or something like that. So it's going to be very difficult to do it that way. But you never know. But we know that there are new villages in Animal Crossing, and I really hope they pivot that a whole lot more because there haven't been that many new in New Leaf outside of the stuff they did with the Welcome Amiibo update back in 2016.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll be seeing some new villagers for sure. And as cool, John, as it would be to have all the past ones back, I'm not expecting that myself. Maybe over the course of time we'll eventually get all the villagers. I don't think we're gonna have it from the get-go though, as cool as that would be. But yeah,
Right.
I am intrigued by like how the evolution of this town is going to work. As Steve was touching on, this is the first time when we're starting completely with a blank slate. Like there is pretty much nothing on this island, which is kind of cool. Like we are starting from ground zero here.
Yeah.
And we don't even fully know like, you know, once you have like a structure in place, what happens then, right? Because in New Leaf, the whole point was you were the mayor. Are you gonna have similar control this time? Like, can you become the mayor of this town of this little island you've kind of founded yourself? Like, what's that process like?
Yeah, we debated that for a long time when we did What We Don't Know video. Are we the caretaker? Are we the mayor right now?
Right.
Because it seems like you have a lot more control with you allowing you to place furniture literally anywhere in the island. And I wonder if there are any particular restrictions with that. But you seem to have a lot more control, even more than you had in New Leaf.
We don't know Isabel's role yet, do we?
No, we don't. No.
So that's even more questions there. Is she still like our assistant? What does she do?
She is at least associated with Tom Nook because she's wearing a Tom Nook outfit.
She's his number one fan.
Uh-oh. She's gone into the private sector.
Gotta
Everything
watch
is
out.
terrible.
Yep.
She's corporate
speaking-
now. Shoot.
Yeah. Speaking of Tom Nook, one of the things I'm most curious about is how we upgrade his facilities. Like,
Right.
is it just we spend a certain amount of money and his shop becomes more and more opulent as time goes on? Because in the early trailers, I believe they showed him off and he was just like in a tent, like, or a shack.
All the footage we've seen, he's in a tent.
Yeah, yeah. So
Poor guy.
I'm curious, like I fully expect it's gonna expand and become like the Nook Mart that we all know and love.
Right.
But I'm curious what mechanic feeds into that, like especially early on, because I wonder how you earn bells like super early in the game when you don't really have anything.
I mean, you could still fish and
Yeah.
find fossils, so...
Yeah,
I mean,
fish,
there's still
fossils,
stuff you could
bugs.
do, and they pretty much made it clear that you're selling everything to Tammy and Tommy. So that is definitely still there. And Tom Nook just seems like the guy who is your tour guide on this new journey.
What a shady tour guide.
He
Probably
really is.
fleecing you for every penny or every bell. Sorry.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. At least they gave you a phone, so...
So one thing I also wonder, like, it's speaking of like the whole like how this whole village thing is going to work eventually. Like another thing we don't really know anything about is how / how. That's a very confusing way of saying it. You know, if there's a city or like town you can visit in this game separate from the island. I'm assuming there is. In fact, I'll predict there is. But we don't know anything about that because there's nothing on the island itself. Where are all those other services going to sit at? And I'm assuming there's another island you can fly to, either on the seaplane or take a boat to, in order to visit to like do some of those other fundamentals. Relatively early into the game.
Yeah. I mean, what I at least hope, if all the servers are on the island, and we still don't know, is that the unlock process will be a whole lot smoother, because that is my main complaint with Animal Crossing.
How long it takes?
The way how long it takes and the requirements to unlock like the final segments of the store. Because in New Leaf, on my original save file in Japan, I still don't have the final Nook upgrade.
Jeez.
Because it's locked to a specific character that you have to meet 3 times, and you also have to go to different towns a few times. So I really hope with this being a blank slate and a different island, they at least streamline that entire process, even if it's on a separate island or something.
I had a prediction sort of linking into this separate island thing. And that's that I think this might be a good opportunity, or maybe a bad opportunity, to announce an expansion pass or DLC. Because having other islands is just the perfect opportunity to put expansions in there. Because you can literally put anything and it doesn't sort of change the fundamentals of the game because it's offshore somewhere.
True.
Now, whether they'll announce it before launch, I don't know, but I think they could definitely incentivize you by saying something like, buy the expansion pass and you'll get this free t-shirt or something. Just some little bonus. And I could definitely see this sort of thing happening. And we've got the Welcome Amiibo update in New Leaf, so something akin to that.
I mean, you're right. I hate in a game so I hate the idea rather of like intermixing real money with a game so focused on virtual currency. I don't know. It just feels messy to me.
It is on the age rating though. On the website they had something like in-game purchases on there. So
could be wrong. I believe that was removed after.
Yes, it was. Yes.
So that might not be a thing. Not that it couldn't be a thing at some point.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But it's,
But yeah, I don't think they'll announce that from the get-go. I think I don't think the optics would be great. After going so long with knowing nothing about this game. Like, hey, by the way, if you want more of the game, hey, make sure to drop us even more money on top of that $60. So yeah, I don't see that happening quite yet. So one thing I'm really curious about though, like the thing I want them to shine light on, is how in the heck is the online going to work? The obvious answer is it'll just work like New Leaf, where you visit your friends who have to be online at the same time, you can hang out in the same town. But my hope is that they're going way farther than that. Because we've already seen them, we've already seen some like weird things with how the cloud saves work, and it's gotten me thinking. It's like, what if the reason cloud saves aren't working is because there's already a backup of your town just by the nature of how this game works? So my hope is that when you go online, it creates your town is persistent. So even when you're not playing your Switch, your town still exists somewhere, and you can have your friends come visit your town and interact with it according to whatever parameters you set that allow them to that basically dictate how much they can affect your town. That's what I hope. Like, I hope there's some level of interaction.
It's funny you bring that up, because I've been watching a lot of interviews back of before City Folk came out, where the producer Iguchi was very adamant about having a feature with Reconnect 24 that you could visit somebody's town even when they're not playing.
Right.
Which never happened.
No. Reconnect 24 was such a missed opportunity.
It's such a missed opportunity, is it? And I still think they should bring that idea back, and it feels like right now is the good time.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because what Andre was describing kind of sounded to me like the Dream Suite.
Well, the Dream Suite
yeah,
was...
the Dream Suite...
It was an instance...
kind of upload like a dream version of your town.
That was an instance version of your town. They could not interact with that at all. So that's like not even
Yeah.
close to
Right.
what I...
And even like the parameters that how much the animal stocked was also super limited in it. I feel that the Dream Suite was a good idea. It wasn't fully baked.
Well, the whole point of Animal Crossing to me it's been, I mean, Nintendo branded it originally as a communication type game. The Dream Suite goes completely against that to me, because it's a one-way communication. People can go check out your town, they can't do anything with it, and you don't know, and you know of nothing of what they did in your town while they were there. So yeah, I hope they take this to the next level, although I acknowledge the fact that the Switch is portable is actually an instant point against that possibility, so...
True, but like the prospect of having just a shared GX town with all of us living in there, that sounds so awesome. Maybe there'll be some way to like make a town and set it, this one's always online or this one's always offline. Because I guess the logistics do kind of go against having an always online world, but man, would it be cool.
That's what I want. I want us to have our own little Game Explainedville, GXville. We're gonna all hang out, we can all drink virtual coffee in the morning, go fishing in the afternoon. We can have little online meetings about upcoming videos in our little town square. It'll be amazing. It'd be incredible.
As much as I would love that, I want that. That is the vision for Animal Crossing I had when New Horizons was first announced, but I just don't see it happening. I not for this installment.
Once again, I've been waiting for this since City Folk, so please make it happen.
Yeah.
You know, at a bare minimum, let me send mail to someone. Why can't I send mail to anyone yet? I hate that.
Yeah, you have to go to somebody's town.
In the GameCube version, you could send mail to someone who without having to be in the same location. That game was genius, and that game didn't have online. Why can't they do that these days?
Yeah, it's still stupid that you have to send a mail by going to somebody's town. I think you could do that in the Wii version, though, if I remember correctly.
I think you might be right. Yeah.
Oh, could you actually in
That's
the
the
Wii
only-
version? The only one?
Yeah, that's the only
might be
time
the
you
only one,
could.
though.
Yeah, because that was the Wii Connect 24 functionality that they actually included.
Oh, the
in
little.
the game.
Okay, I'll give them credit for that. Then they took it away in New Leaf. So.
Yep.
But yeah, online, I want to know more about it. At the very least, I hope there's more activities we can partake in online. Like, it'd be really cool if, like, say, there's a table tennis table. If you can play with your friend on that or something, like, give us little mini games we can engage in, right? A little bit like they explored that with New Leaf and its little island. I think it's Island of Games, whatever the heck that was. You know what I'm talking about? But
Cap'n Island.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, but I would love for them to go even further with the idea.
I mean, the Cap'n Island tours, the mini games that you played for 5 to 8 minutes were really fun, though. And they changed like by 4 every single day. So I think that was a really strong idea that I definitely could expand upon.
Right.
Yeah, there needs to be more to do in multiplayer in Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
The idea of visiting each other is fun, and being able to get fruits that don't naturally occur on your island. I imagine that's still going to be a mechanic that exists. But yeah, there needs to be more interaction. Captain Island was a good start, and I do believe that they'll expand on that in some way. I couldn't even begin to think of what, but in some way I imagine there will be more multiplayer-focused interaction, especially since they do kind of seem to be pushing the fact that 8 people can be on this island at the same time.
Yeah, totally.
So it makes a lot of sense for them to focus on that and give you more activities to do that require more people.
Well, and kind of to that point, Steve, here's my next prediction. It kind of ties into the prediction I already gave. So not only am I predicting that there will be another island with that, you know, that's the city portion of the game, effectively, or whatever they end up calling it, the downtown district, who knows? I predict that's going to be an instanced version, an instant town, or an instance town, where you join up with the other random people from around the world, say up to 8 people, and you can interact with them while you're visiting the town together. You don't know who they are, maybe you can befriend each other while you're there, but it'll add some life to this game, even when you're playing by yourself.
That sounds kind of like Pocket Camp in a way.
Oh, does it? Does it do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, so I guess they could take those sort of mechanics and put them into that area.
Yeah, there we go.
And do you guys think there'll be any Pocket Camp functionality, or is that game
No.
kind of done?
No, they literally said that. So we had plans to do so. We scrapped them. It's like, okay,
Good.
Oh, well, I didn't even hear that. Huh.
Same, but I'm thankful.
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they try to bring it back at some point, though, in some kind of like update or something.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it that if they tried, but they mentioned after E3 that they explored the idea and then didn't do it. So yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea sounds like a really cool thing, and like having this sort of global market that you can come together and maybe exchange items with them. Like, let's say you're someone who doesn't have a bunch of friends that plays Animal Crossing. You can come to this town and just find all these different fruits there that you would not normally get. So
Right.
it's just like that'd be a great way to just sort of expand the possibilities without being in a massive friend group.
They could go farther than this. What if there's like an auction house where you can put up like some rare goods you found, and, like check back like a week later and see what they went for? Or
Once again, that was a City Folk function.
there we go. See, I have all these great ideas that apparently I experienced before. That's actually the one I played the least. So, or what if what if you can set up a little shop and you can actually sell like your own creations, like your own textures that you drew, for instance, where you've got to put those up on the marketplace.
I wonder what they're doing with patterns, because it used to be with 3DS that you can scan friend codes or you have to go to somebody's town. So I wonder with the app, you can still make them, but how do you share them? Do you use the Nintendo Switch Online app?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Please no.
I
I mean,
hope
they've
not.
been pretty good about not making us use that app ever since. The last game really to have a dedicated service in there was Splatoon. Since then, they haven't really done much apart from voice chat. They're not even really telling us to use voice chat anymore. So my prediction is there's going to be no app stuff outside of just regular voice chat.
I was gonna say, yeah, they have to have voice chat in this game. That would be
Right.
I mean, I feel like
Right.
this actually might be the game that gets people to finally use that app, because if you're playing with your friends, you're gonna want voice chat.
Yeah.
I didn't see myself, like, when on the Wii playing Let's Go to the City, I didn't see myself years later having a very similar setup with Wii Speak, with my mobile just sort of down by the TV.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, going back to pattern creation for a minute, I see it happening in the game, but I could see the them trying to push the Switch touchscreen as like the input of choice for designing patterns.
Oh,
like,
totally,
I
yeah.
almost fully expect to see like a commercial with somebody like with a Switch Lite designing a pattern on their Switch for Animal Crossing.
Here's a dumb suggestion. What if the IR camera could scan in things for shapes?
Oh.
Like you take a Wii remote or something, just put it by the
Oh.
camera.
Like
and
a
make it design
3D
that way.
printer in the game or something. You could print your
Hell
own like
yeah.
IR, or your own IR like sculptures, for instance.
Nope. Humans are too vulgar
Yeah,
to
I
have
know,
that.
Yeah, we
that's
can't be
the
trusted.
problem. That would be amazing, though.
It would be, but let's be real.
Well,
We know what everyone's gonna do with that.
You know where would be a great
Yes.
place for some of those sculptures to end up, though? Would be the museum, which is something we also don't know anything about beyond it existing.
Oh no. The museum I'm really interested in because Blathers is one of my favorite characters,
Mhm.
and I don't see him rocking a tent. So, and this is kind of debunked or rather confirmed possibly by some merch, but Blathers will continue to be our museum curator.
Yes.
And two, I think you have to get your island to a certain overall level for a museum to be there. I think you don't get a museum from the
Yeah.
outset. I think you have to develop a little bit first.
The complication with that, and I really hope that like storage is enough because there are more fossils in this game than ever before.
Oh yeah,
So-
absolutely.
So I do hope that you can like right from the get-go store them somewhere because the previous games were not very great with that because you had to have a dresser. There is an indication that you can now use backpacks, and they're continuously making that indication considering like most of the screenshots have somebody with a backpack.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's true. I going back, I guess one of the predictions that I have that kind of ties into this is I think your island has an overall level. In previous Animal Crossing games,
It's like it's being rated, like the Room Academy or whatever it was, the Room Association.
yeah, essentially like that. Like you have a level of development, like based on how well you've decorated the island, how many roads you've built, like
It's like Civilization.
stuff like yeah, how civilized you've made
Yeah.
the island. And I think when you reach certain milestones, certain things unlock.
Huh.
And I think the museum is among those, but I think that also may kind of tie into the overall questions I had about like how Tom Nook improves. That may just be bells spent or whatever, but I think there's some mechanic that ties into your island's overall civilization level, and I think that will
yeah.
help you unlock certain things.
It would streamline the unlock process though, which once again is one of my major gripes of Animal Crossing, and I think what you're suggesting is actually a pretty good idea.
Oh, thank you. If you're listening, Mr. Gucci, I'm available for consultation.
Nice. So what else besides the museum are we missing? I mean, we haven't seen a whole lot in terms of like, or the other shops, for instance. Presumably some that'll be done through the phone, at least at the start. But what other big features do you want to see that we know nothing about?
Swimming. I want to walk
Swimming.
into the ocean and start swimming.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, that would be cool. Like maybe even catching fish with a net instead of a hook. Like have a fishing net that you can use for like larger deep sea fish or something like that.
Right.
Or maybe even
Well,
a boat.
To a larger point there, Steve, like the game largely revolves around crafting these new elements now, so you have to like craft an axe and craft whatever else. So like using those mechanics for different functions could work actually quite well. Like using that not only for butterflies but also for catching fishes.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Actually, you just reminded me of something, John. Getting back to like what Steve was saying earlier about wanting more activities. How cool would it be if you could set up your own little games for your friends? Like, what if you could say, "Hey, let's go on a bug hunt. Whoever catches the first 5 bugs wins." You could put up like a little prize to some third party, like Tom Nook or something, who awards whoever wins or something. That could be like a fun little online activity.
I mean, going back to swimming, I hope that also diving will be back, which is something they introduced in New Leaf, because it expanded like the library of fish that you could catch and everything that you could do within the game far more. But once again, they haven't really touched on that a singular bit, and it hasn't been shown in any of the screenshots and any of the footage. So I wonder, will diving be back in any form?
I kind of don't expect much from New Leaf to not make it into New Horizons. I don't think they're going to make this game feel like a step back in any way, so I kind of expect diving to return.
Although the DS one was kind of a step back in some ways, so it's not unprecedented.
I suppose so.
I'm not expecting
actually,
that.
One big thing that we've not really talked about that I think is major is customization. Because in all the renders and screenshots we've seen since E3, there have been villagers with different noses and different eyes and all these mechanics that we've never even seen before. I mean, this is the first time you can just have black villagers, which is kind of weird for a series that's been around for like 20 years, but how extensive do you think this customization is going to be?
It's not going to be overly extensive, but I feel that you have more room and more control. Like in the older games, you used to answer a few questions, and then you would get like a mandated villager based on top of that. I feel that with more like racial features and also the various features on the noses and stuff, I feel that you should have a little bit more control right from the get-go before you start the game.
So you don't
do you
reset
think
the
there's
game
going to be like an avatar builder? Or are we still answering questions?
I think we should just have the option to make the villager that we want instead of using questions to make that happen.
Yeah, that probably makes sense. I think that, I mean, that's kind of where everything's, well, no one's done it like Animal Crossing really has, so I think it makes sense to just like give you full control of that, so.
I mean, that seems kind of the main theme now with New Horizons, getting you full control. Especially with the character now and you placing furniture everywhere and where you can place the tent and your future house and also the houses of all the other villagers. There seems to be more of an indication that you can build the town exactly as you want it, which I think I'm very much looking forward to and seeing what everybody else does with their town.
Right.
One thing I'm surprised we haven't touched on, and a prediction that I'm keen to make. I don't think there's going to be a town gate. I think that, you know, the town gate has traditionally been how we control people visiting or leaving. It's what you arrive in the very first Animal Crossing. You kind of show up at the train station.
Yeah.
I think that's going away. I think
that's
that Booker...
more or less...
Yeah, I think Booker and Copper are going to be like members of the Coast Guard.
Mhm.
And there's, you know, because you arrive, correct me if I'm wrong, via like a seaplane.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yes.
predicted that before it even happened.
I think this is more or less confirmed at this point, because we've seen a render with a villager coming off a plane and welcoming another villager.
Right,
Yes.
so we know other villagers arrive via plane too, so I don't think a town gate's going to exist.
It will probably
Yeah.
exist at the airport now, it would be my guess. You go to the airport.
Right,
you open
that's
or
my guess, is
close
like
traffic.
the airport / harbor.
We have now Dodo Airlines, so they might stamp like a passport that you have, and then they bring you to the sea airplane.
Oh, I love the idea of having a passport. Like, what if you can, like, every town you get like a little stamp for it, and that's like that stamp.
That would be
is something you
amazing.
designed yourself. How cool would that be?
That would
Right,
be the
I mean,
best.
In other Animal Crossing games, you design your town's flag.
Right.
So how cool would it be if that flag design you make was also a stamp on someone's passport?
That would be amazing.
Yeah, I love that idea. I think that would be just incredible.
Yeah. So I guess that you mentioned the police dogs earlier. What, Booker, Copper, and Booker, right?
Yes.
Or Booker,
yes.
Copper, whoever order it goes in. I've said this before. I'm not officially predicting this, but I would love this if this happened. Where, as I said earlier, like I want people to be able to visit your town whether you're there or not. And I think it'd be super cool if those police dogs, if you could set up like a rule set for people who visit your town and what they can or can't do. So if someone tries to chop down a tree while, you know, if that's something you forbid, then those cops show up and like arrest them and throw them into Animal Crossing jail.
And they spend like 3 real-life hours in prison.
It's so great.
You know what I would like
What?
even more than that, rather than jail? I would love it if they find people bells. So like, you can just find out how many people came and messed with your town while you were offline, and they're like, "Hey, you collected 500 bells from your friends trying to mess all your stuff up."
That
Mhm.
would be pretty
You should be able to
hilarious.
charge access for your island. I should be able to set up like a little ticket booth to pay me
There-
$1 billion
That's
bells.
a very
Oh,
Tom Nook move.
Toll or tax.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Perfect. All right, I have a prediction here. This is getting a little bit away from content, but I am predicting there's going to be no time traveling in this game. Nintendo is going to prevent you from adjusting the clock in this game, and effectively having you like skip ahead in the future to skip, key events or skip ahead to key events.
How do you enforce that? Like when you're offline and change the date, how would the game know?
Apparently, if I remember correctly, the Switch actually can keep track of time independent of the manually set time, so it can tell how much you've adjusted it by. So if they don't want you playing around with it, they can. And they can also confirm it against the server time too, right? So.
Okay, well, yeah, if that's the case,
I don't
then
think
maybe.
that's gonna happen.
You don't think so, Steve?
I don't. I think that so many people had so much fun with Mr. Rossetti that he's still going to be our
but
one
he's
and
not,
only line
we
of
already
defense.
know he's not back in the same role, though.
Yeah, because this game autosaves, so he has become obsolete.
You're right.
I mean, that's quite a big thing. Like, this game doesn't have cloud saves as well, so it seems they want to be very protective over you cloning your save.
Exactly.
Like, it's all on the server right now, so you can only use it to like if your Switch is lost or broken. So it's just like a worst case scenario kind of thing, that cloud save. So they really don't want you going back and cloning items or just doing something and then reversing it. So maybe you're right. Maybe we can't adjust the time.
Of course I'm right.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting idea. Or maybe you can adjust the time and then there's just, if you go back, there's a very serious, like your save doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like, there's consequences in the timeline. Like you go back. It's like the
man.
butterfly effect.
I like it.
How funny would that be if like you went back in time and then when you naturally reached the date you went forward to, it just created like a paradox and your village exploded.
There's like two of you.
Dear God.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
there's two of you. Fight.
Yeah, I know, like, if there's no time traveling, I know that's going to upset some people, but I think it's probably for the greater good. Like, I know as one who played myself, like, I'd like to play these games as the developers intended. Not that you have to play the way the way the developers intended, but I feel like that is how they intended it. And it always did take away a little bit of something when I knew people were, like, skipping ahead, getting items much easier without having to put in the work for it.
There's a better solution for this also. If you want to see like different time periods during the year, there is now a hemisphere function.
True,
right,
but do you think
yeah.
you'll be able to toggle that on and off, or is that like a one-time thing, you think?
I think that's something that you can choose one time. So if
Yeah.
you have a friend who has a different save, and events are likely going to change around too, considering the seasons right now. Then you at least can do that at the very minimum.
Could be.
So with previous titles, did people in Australia have winter in their country but summer in Animal Crossing? Is that how it worked?
Yes, that's correct. They used
That's so
to
weird for
be
them.
used to be running on our clock. So now they have a separate clock that they can choose, hopefully right from the get-go, or it's maybe tied to your Nintendo account? I'm not sure.
And that's actually really cool, because that's going to make it feel even more diverse when you visit someone else's town. Like, you're not going to be seeing the same season over and over and over. Now you'll be seeing one of two, which is actually, I think, a pretty cool touch.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely,
definitely
yeah.
cool.
What else do you guys hope to see? Like, anything in the way of new businesses or services that they could offer in this game? Because they always find some new thing to fit in there, right? Like some new business we hadn't seen before. So what are you thinking we might see this time?
I mean, we have a new service in our pocket. It's called the Nook Phone.
That's true, but
Yeah, I mean they have left room open for more spots on that Nook Phone, like 3 of them. We know that is how you access local multiplayer, the map, all your DIY recipes, for example, and how you create patterns. There's still room for more, and I feel that they might reveal one of those functions during that direct.
oh, I'm sure. I think we're gonna see a blowout on
Oh, yeah.
how the Nook phone works.
I think the thing I want the most, and it is part of, well, I hope it's part of the Nook phone. I want to see player-to-player messaging replace the traditional mail. And I would love it if the Nook phone came with
Oh.
a photo mode.
Ooh.
Oh, you're totally right. That actually makes way more sense than the
Oh.
idea of having mail.
I mean, it comes with a photo mode. That's how you create those in-game photos with your friends.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
you're right.
Messaging them makes so much sense, though. Just texting them a message.
Yeah, that would be great, honestly. Yeah.
I like how we actually could just text each other in real life at this point. But
I know, right? But
Yeah.
but I can't tease you from a first-person perspective about one of your villagers leaving and coming to my island.
that's a good point. That is true.
Which is like the main reason to send mail to your friends in Animal Crossing. Like, hey, I stole your favorite villager.
Yep.
Take that.
We need a proper. I don't think they showed this off. We need. Have they shown off a camera on the phone yet? On the Nook phone?
Yes, they have. Yes.
Oh, okay. Can you do like selfies and stuff?
You can do like cinematic shots with a bunch of different filters and
I saw that.
without any
but
UI.
No
Yeah.
first-person stuff yet or anything, or
No first
okay.
person.
I hope we get something of that nature, like Wind Waker, where you take selfies. You can
Oh,
do,
yeah,
especially
yeah,
with
yeah.
Dr. Shrunk or whatever.
Yes.
With all his emotions, like that seems such like a ripe thing for like selfies, and like with group shots too, especially. Like with your friends?
Oh, absolutely. You know, one thing I want to expand on, since we're talking about messaging and using the phone. I predict that Animal Crossing will be the first game to make significant use of the Switch's notification system.
Dear God.
So I think we're gonna have flashbacks to a We Connect 24, and when people message us or we get mail from someone in the game, I think your Joy-Con's gonna go off and let you know that there's something waiting for you on your island.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Like, just imagine, like, your entire Switch system just vibrates. You check it, and there's a text waiting for you. That makes so much sense.
That's actually a really
Yeah,
good idea.
I would love that. Like, one of the things that I think Animal Crossing traditionally to this point has been not so great at is incentivizing you to come back to your town when you've been gone. And I think if your Switch would actually light up and say like, "Hey, there's something going on in your town, go check it out," like that would be a good incentive to just pop back in and see what's happened.
That's actually a really good point. Like, I feel like once you lose that momentum in Animal Crossing, it's kind of hard to get back into it, right? So yeah, a notification system could be a great way of like pulling you back in.
Exactly. I mean, mobile games are doing this all the time now, right?
Yeah.
Including the Animal Crossing mobile game. So it would only make sense for them to do that because, like you said, you know, Animal Crossing, once you fall off, you kind of gain this inertia where it's like, I don't want to go back to my town because I'm going to feel guilty. And it would be good if it told you like what you were missing, because I think that's the one thing that could pull me back is like, oh no, this happened. I want to go see that.
Well, kind of speaking of things you want to see, so I predict that this is going to be a live type title for Nintendo, where we'll be getting like consistent updates throughout the year. We may not even know they're updates, but I feel like what ships on that cartridge isn't all that there will be to see in Animal Crossing. I think they'll add new events, new holidays, new things constantly. Like I mean, they did this a little bit in New Leaf, a tiny bit with like that amiibo update. But I think that they'll go farther with this, like on a more almost like the original Mario Maker level, where just kind of casually roll out things. And again, they may not even brand it as like a major thing. It might just happen in game, and it's something that you may not even be aware of wasn't there originally.
Here's a prediction going off that. Future Nintendo Directs will air in-game in Animal Crossing. There'll be a theater which comes up in the town where you and your friends can gather around and just sit and watch the screen as they air whatever they're announcing.
That would
How
actually be
amazing would that
awesome.
be?
That actually reminds me of the lobbies they had in Dead or Alive on Xbox, where you played as like as an animal, actually, fittingly enough, and you could go around this room watching different matches happen on these TVs.
Yep, I remember that. That was super weird.
What was the PS3 one called? Was it PlayStation Home? That was kind of
PlayStation
like
Home, yeah.
Yeah, that too.
You know, though, Andre, going back to your idea about content updates, I couldn't agree with you more. One of the things that I had written down was that I felt like content updates to Animal Crossing would be delivered in a way very similar to Splatoon 2, where it's like you log in and they're just like, hey, there's some new stuff. Like, why don't you go check out Nook's shop? Or where it's like you log in and they're just like, hey, there's some new stuff. Like, why don't you go check out Nook's shop or go to the Able Sisters? Like, there's new clothes available.
Right.
Or even Mario Odyssey, where you just start the game and they're like, hey, there's some new costumes, you know?
Yeah.
So I expect it where it's not like a massive update like that, but it is something like you pop in and maybe there's a small notification telling you like, hey, there are new things you can collect or buy, or the season has changed, new bugs are out, that kind of thing. That would be really cool.
Exactly.
And another thing in that direction, I think that they would also be smart to continuously release new Nintendo items. Because one thing that they really excelled at is when a new title releases, that they have a subset of items that are brand new, and they included a whole bunch more in the Welcome Amiibo update. But what if, like, for small increments and knowing which titles are going to release, they release like very small items to sort of promote it?
Oh, absolutely.
That makes a lot of sense.
I think that's ingenious. And Nintendo is generally pretty good about that cross-pollination with their franchises. Like in Breath of the Wild, we had the Xenoblade 2 outfit.
Yeah.
And other things of that nature. But Animal Crossing, you know, kind of attracts a non-traditional audience for Nintendo. So it would be really wise of them to leverage that different audience. Like, hey, Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out. Here's the Master Sword, and they would naturally, a subset, those of us that are kind of traditional Nintendo fans would obviously go nuts trying to get this Master Sword, and that might intrigue some of the players that only come to the Switch for games like Animal Crossing. So yeah, I definitely see that happening, and they have done other Nintendo themed or other franchise themed items in the past. So I could definitely see that being a thing.
Yeah, I remember when the Welcome Amiibo update came out, and on day one I was super shocked because they added like the Breath of the Wild costume before Breath of the Wild was even out.
Right, that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
right.
Now, something else they did in the past that I think they strayed away from, they kind of returned to, but I don't think we know for sure yet in New Horizons, is having real-life holidays in the game, like Halloween or Christmas, and I predict that those will be back. Instead of instead of the generic holidays we had in, I think, one or two of them, we'll get proper, like, holidays synced to your region or whatever. And in fact, we may even have region-specific holidays, perhaps.
Yeah, there's an interesting theory to that because the eShop version is different in North America than the one in Japan and Europe.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. That could
Just
be
like Splatoon.
That could just be because of the vast amount of text too, perhaps. But I hope you're right, Don. That's a point in my favor. Yeah, I mean, it's possible.
Interesting theory to that because the eShop version is different in North America than the one in Japan and Europe.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. That could
Just
be
like Splatoon.
that could just be because of the vast amount of text too, perhaps. But I hope you're right, Don. That's a point in my favor.
Yeah, I hope it's a point in your favor,
Yeah.
honestly. Also, what is also a point in your favor, now it's sort of a side point, it would be funny to see Christmas on the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
Have like a
Because
barbecue
it would be
instead.
it just it's barbecuing while you meet Santa. That will be hilarious.
Yeah, I personally like the region-locked idea for holidays. It would be cool, for instance, if you can go to a friend who lives in Japan and celebrate a holiday they only celebrate
Golden
there
Week or
on their
something.
island.
like Children's Day on May 5th, yeah.
Yeah.
That's during Golden Week.
Yeah, this could really be, yeah, I mean, like, they really embrace the online this time, which I hope they do, and I think might be suggested by their weird handling of cloud saves, that this really could be, like, the most, like, diverse Animal Crossing yet. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Like, I just hope for, like, a larger breadth when it comes to everything. Like, I want everything to be blown out in terms of, like, how much you can do within each, like, subgenre that we already know about. Like more fossil type things to find, more bugs, more fish, more holidays, more events, more villagers.
Of course, they're not gonna rattle off like villagers or special characters nilly-willy, but it's just a snippet, just a tease of it would be nice.
Exactly. I have a wild prediction here.
Okay.
So, and it kind of ties in something I had earlier. I predict that you can get a second island at some point. This second island will exist either as an extension of your current island, so just kind of like a separate place to mess around in, or perhaps you can found the second island as what I hoped the initial island would be, being a persistent online thing that you and a select group of friends can always visit. So even if we can't share our own towns, we can share this one common island that we can all drop by whenever we want, online.
I mean, that's one way around it.
That's waiting for us at the upper floor of the current island, because you have to go up 2 stories to reach the upper top of that first island.
Oh, because of the staircases we know about now, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. I have one off the wall prediction.
Good.
Oh.
I think NES and Super NES
Oh my
games
God.
will be in Animal Crossing New Horizons, but with the caveat that they're only available for those that have a Nintendo Switch Online subscription, and they're the exact same games you get through
So it just boots up Animal Crossing and starts up the app.
Yeah, like
the
you
NES app.
access a TV in your home, and it just lets you play the same games that you could play from the Switch menu.
That's actually kind of genius, because that could be a smart way of like allowing multiplayer. Because those games are 2-player, right? So you can hop on, play an NES in your house with a friend in the games they already have. But it would kind of give it like this extra home like layer, as John mentioned earlier, to this like whole experience. I think that could be really cool. Actually, if they did that.
And getting like physical cartridges in there too.
Yeah, I would love to see it, and I think it would scratch an itch that Animal Crossing fans like me have had for a very long time. Like having NES games in your house was one of the coolest things ever.
Yeah.
and this would be a way to get them without making people feel like they have to buy them again. I mean, we're, or just to get people to subscribe to Nintendo Switch Online. I don't know.
Exactly.
I mean, they did something similar with the Welcome Amiibo update, where they added 2 games that were playable through a Wii U and a new 3DS.
Yeah, that's correct.
Like the Puzzle League and Desert Island Escape, aka the best part of Amiibo Festival.
All right. Any other predictions or things that we don't know about yet that you want to learn more about in this direct?
I think we covered it.
We've covered a lot of things, yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
I want to know if the existing Animal Crossing amiibo work in New Horizons and what they do.
Well, we know some of the amiibo work. We just don't know what they do yet.
Yeah, that's true. I want to find out what they do.
Yeah.
I keep thinking that after this direct, all those clearance Animal Crossing amiibo are going to go way up in price.
Yeah, it kind of depends on what they do, I feel.
I mean, they've been
true.
de-emphasizing amiibo for a long time now. Very few games still use them. So if they do have them, I'd imagine they aren't going to be a big focus.
Yeah.
But I can't
That's
imagine they
true.
want to put much of a spotlight on them.
Yeah, I definitely don't think you can use them in the same way that you did in Welcome Amiibo, where you could basically shape your entire island with only the villages that you wanted.
Which is kind of cheap. I don't really want that.
No, I don't want that.
I just myself want to know, the main things are how the online works, if you can be a mayor or have some kind of powers similar to the mayor, and what's up with this town or the city portion of the game. How's that work? So those are my 3 main things here that I want to know about.
Where the hell was Smash?
Yes. I actually have been
5 minutes?
thinking
Where's Smash?
it'd be super cool if there were like a new Smash stage based on your island and you'd see only the villagers who lived on it in the background.
That would be cool.
That'd be cool. I don't think we'll get it though because we already have an island stage in the game, unfortunately. So
Yeah, for that is Cap'n Island though.
Yeah.
So.
oh, another thing I want. I hope they bring back the angry personalities, like the GameCube version. Like those town folks. Some of them were very upset people, and I loved it. They were hilarious.
I mean, they sort of still exist under the Cranky umbrella, but
It's
yeah,
not the
they're
same.
Not
It's
fully
not the
angry
same.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to be yelled at.
Yeah, I guess they removed them altogether because they're also getting rid of Rossetti.
Yeah, that's true.
No.
I didn't think about that. Wow, we put it that way. Yikes. I do remember when I worked at Nintendo, we actually got some complaints from like parents who were like very at least one parent I remember in particular who was very unhappy because Mr. Rossetti yelled at their child and made them cry. So I felt a little bit bad about that. But
I like how you do it the first time in New Leaf, and they basically said you will have to fund the Rossetti Center, or else I won't be able to tell you that you didn't save the next time.
All right, anything else, guys?
One last prediction.
Okay.
Aliens.
Yeah, like they just drop in and
New
visit
Leaf
you.
has that alien message.
Wait, alien message.
Yeah,
oh, on
so
the TV, yeah.
if you're looking at your TV at exactly 3:33 a.m., an alien appears on the screen. Like it goes to static, and then you see an alien, and it's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, I remember that.
I suspect that we're gonna get some similarly weird alien-themed Easter egg in the game.
Oh,
I think if you go for the midnight hours, there's some really weird stuff on the televisions. I think they're gonna double down on that, double the amount.
I
Yeah.
love this idea. If you like, if villagers from your town just start randomly disappearing, you're like, what's going on?
No,
And then eventually
no.
you have to get abducted yourself to go rescue everyone.
Oh my god, that's the best possible Easter egg. When your villagers move out, if you're up at the right hour, you see them just get abducted by aliens.
Yeah, that's so great. Oh, I love that idea.
And Grover was gone forever.
Well, and kind of speaking of the whole idea of like villagers moving around, I forget how much of a role this played in the post GameCube games, but I definitely want like a lot of like passive interaction between towns too. Like, you know, having one of my villagers move out to yours, Steve, for instance, into your town. I love like passive stuff like that, or maybe, I don't know, something washes away from my beach and ends up on yours. You know, things like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to see a villager wash up on the beach. I want to
Well,
have
there's
like
Gulliver.
a Link's Awakening.
That's
moment.
Gulliver.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Gulliver does
And he
that all
even
the
he even
time.
makes Zelda references, I think, actually, doesn't he?
He does. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Yes,
We're-
yes.
I want Gulliver back.
It's sort of it's sort of a Simpsons did it situation. Like every time we think of something,
Yep.
Animal Crossing already did it in some form before.
Who would have guessed? All right. Anything else?
This discussion
Red.
is twice the length of the actual direct.
That's absurd.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes.
that kind of tells us right there. There's no way they can address everything we've thought up because it'd be
Yeah,
pretty
that's
much
true.
impossible. But yeah, point is, I'm pretty excited for this Nintendo Direct. Like this is the longest they've gone. I feel like on a major Nintendo game in some time without having any information, basically since it was announced. So I'm really eager to see like what all they have in store for us. Like I'm hoping there's stuff in
Same.
there we hadn't even thought of. Like that's a hope.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to see Red make a comeback.
Oh,
Like,
was
Oh,
it-
he will definitely be back.
Yeah,
He
I
will
love the
definitely
idea of like having to point out counterfeit goods. That's it's like such a weird thing to have in a game like that. But yeah, I want to see how Red ends up on the island to begin
Yeah.
with, because he kind of just wandered into your town before. Is he just gonna show up on a boat now, or
I guess so. He'll be like
He's-
Beetle and Zelda in his, or in Wind Waker in his boat.
Oh
He will
man,
just have a counterfeit
so-
sea airplane.
yeah, I want a seafaring merchant. Like, I want some kind of sketchy merchant that shows up on a boat, and you have to go on the boat to buy crap from him.
You know what I want? I want the stock market to return, but on like a worldwide basis. Like I want the prices to be legit affected by how many people are buying into the stock market at any given time. So those turn
Oh,
ups,
heck yeah.
they'll go up or down depending on what people are doing with them. So
You know what? And I'm gonna say this with no irony or no hyperbole. I would totally log into the Nintendo Switch Online app to do that, like to track the stock
to
market.
trade
I'd
turn
be-
ups, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be like ignoring my mom. I'd be like, yeah, making trades.
There we go. Exactly. All right.
Mm.
So how hyped are you guys? 1 to 10 for the direct.
I am. For me, it's pretty much a 9.
9. Okay.
Yeah, I'm with Don. I'm at about an 8 or a 9. Like, Animal Crossing is one of my favorite franchises, and it's one that I spend a lot of time with once they come out.
Mhm.
So I'm really excited to see how I'll be spending the next like actual couple of months with my Switch.
For sure.
Like when you phrase it like that, absolutely. But I also don't want to get my expectations too high because they could very well underdeliver on them.
Yeah.
Oh,
I-
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been listing off so many cool things that I really want to happen, but this direct could very well just be a recap of what we already know and just sort of showcase it in more depth. So
Don't say that. Don't
yeah,
say
Oh, absolutely.
I'm
but
gonna say
here's the
7
thing
for
for
that
me.
reason.
They could say it's New Leaf but in HD and it's on the
Yeah,
Switch, and I'd be
exactly.
like,
I'd be happy.
jackpot.
Yeah.
I'll
mean,
see
that's
you
all
in
everyone
90
wants.
days.
Everyone just wants Animal Crossing on the Switch, but it can be more ambitious than that, though.
Right. I
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
want more, but also I love the core of the franchise so much that even if it doesn't deliver a ton of innovation, I know that I'm going to be excited to spend time with this game and to kind of relive those experiences that you can only really have in Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I've been waiting for a new one basically a year after the first one came out in Japan because I've been playing that nonstop since 2012. So I said my final goodbyes to my town. I'm like ready to head off to New Horizons.
Jeez, 8 years ago.
Yeah, God, it's crazy. Well, that's why I'm excited. Like, it's been, well, not only has it been a while since the last Animal Crossing, it's been forever since the last console Animal Crossing. And because City Folk underdelivered, I'm hopeful this one will finally pay off. Because I want to play Animal Crossing on the TV. I know a lot of people love playing on their handhelds. Obviously, that was the only place to play it in the last generation. But I'm excited to sit back, relax, enjoy my town on my comfy couch on the big screen TV. So that's why I'm excited to see what exactly they're going to be bringing here. With that said, I'm taking John's more conservative route as well. So I put myself at a 7 right now. Like, my fear still is like, we know most of it, and the only things we don't know are the obvious things, and I'm hoping I'm wrong on that. I think I am, but that's my fear, right? So here's hoping that they surprise us in a couple of days.
It's good to be conservative, but for me, it's been too long. Give me more Animal Crossing.
I hear ya. We can get 25 minutes of it very soon, buddy, and we'll be talking about
Yeah.
much more. I'm sure we'll be analyzing the heck out of it. So, yeah, so if you liked what you just listened to, make sure to click that subscribe button for tons more on Animal Crossing New Horizons, as we'll have a lot more very soon. And with that, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later. Bye.
sucking